Oh, but we didn't know how much he impacted people until after his passing.
A fatal crash in Dillingham Friday, taking the life of the lone soul on board, John Landseedle, who family and friends are remembering fondly tonight. Good evening. That crash sending shockwaves through entire communities from here in Alaska down to the lower 48.
And we're learning more tonight about the 33-year-old who we now know hails from North Dakota. Georgina Fernandez has been following this story, and today she had a chance to talk with John Landseedle's family.
There was one phrase the family kept saying to me when talking about their son that really sticks out, that he was a kid in a candy store. They described to me his fascination with Alaska, the outdoors, and his love for adventure. The family tells me they have been feeling a wave of emotions after learning that their son, 33-year-old John Landseedle, died in a plane crash last Friday. Landseedle was piloting a small plane that crashed in Dillingham, where he worked as a fish and game wildlife biologist. The North Dakota native, the family tells me, had a passion for mountain goats, hunting, caring for animals, people, and aviation. His family told us that he described living in Alaska as being a kid in a candy store, and it's like Yellowstone on steroids.
It was bigger mountains, bigger animals, bigger and badder things for him to chase and for him to be immersed in, and he always talked about it. It was almost like he got bored with what he was doing in the lower 48, and he needed a little more of a challenge or a shock, or he was kind of shock is probably he was kind of a thrill seeker in that sense.
The family tells me right now his body is in Anchorage, and they're waiting for him to make it back home to North Dakota. Georgina Fernandez, Alaska's news source.
And authorities say they've recovered the body of a young man who was last seen paddleboarding on DeLong Lake in Anchorage. According to the Anchorage Fire Department, a 21-year-old was at the lake with friends over the weekend when they realized they hadn't seen him in at least 15 minutes. At that point, they called 911. Police, the fire department, and a dive team were all called in, clearing the lake of a crowd there and proceeding to search the area where a paddleboard was found floating. By the time darkness settled on Sunday night, they hadn't found anything. But this morning, the body was recovered. It's not yet clear exactly what happened in this case, but authorities are reminding everyone to wear your life jackets whenever you're out in the water.
Well, Chugach State Park Rangers are advising people in the area near Barbara Falls be especially vigilant after a bear attack over the weekend. One individual was hospitalized after the mauling in Eagle River on Saturday, involving a brown bear with cubs near the falls around 10 in the morning. Now, as of last check, the Barbara Falls Trail is open, but a section near the South Fork confluence is closed. Rangers are advising people in the area, please stay alert, carry bear deterrent, and leash any pets. The Department of Fish and Game is also recommending extra caution this season as well.
It's just when everybody's out and about, and the bears are out and about too. They're trying to access salmon, they're trying to access berries, they're trying to get ready for winter time.
All right, it's peak salmon season, and just like humans, bears, they're taking advantage. Fish and Game also says this is the time of year that the agency receives the most reports of interactions between bears and humans. Kenai wildlife biologist Christopher Bottom says most of them end positively for both species, but you still want to make sure that you give plenty of space to wildlife. Consider traveling in groups and be noisy so that you reduce your chances of spooking a bear. Anyone with sightings of concern should file a report on the Fish and Game website.
Transitioning now to some politics, veto override questions remain. That's developing hours after the governor released new special session details late this afternoon. Our political reporter, Will Courtney, will be in Juneau starting Saturday and updates us now on what he's learned. Will.
Yeah, you may remember the governor's office confirmed to me weeks ago he'd asked members of his own party to abstain from the first 5 days of the special session to avoid veto overrides. But today, weeks later, the governor invited all lawmakers to be there from the start. As House and Senate leadership said, they would immediately vote on veto overrides. The governor releasing a 2-minute video about 3:30 this afternoon, more specifically saying education reform will mean proposing statewide school open enrollment. Also, a bonus program the governor argues will recruit, retain teachers. and increasing the reading program investments as well. The governor's office said a short time later, hearings would be scheduled for Sunday, the second day of the special session, with lawmakers saying they'll vote on overriding $51 million in education funding. This is part of what the governor had to say today.
These just aren't ideas. They're policies ready to pass now if lawmakers act. We can give educators, students, and parents the certainty they need before the school year begins and avoid dragging this debate into January. I'll be in Juneau when the special session begins and invite all legislators to be there to focus on solutions that deliver real results for Alaskans.
The governor's office's press release went on to promise what they call long-term certainty for K-12 funding if policy agreement can be reached, Augusta.
All right, well, thanks so much. And on the veto override, do we know how close lawmakers are to overriding the governor's veto at this point?
Sure. Well, there's been actually some progress, but not a lot has changed. What we know is that there's 3 minority members who said to me that they do plan on voting to override this veto, and that's Representative Justin Ruffridge, Senator James Kaufman, and Senator Mike Cronk. If all the members of the majority, all 35, vote, they'll still need 7 minority members. So I've reached out to the members of the minority, the ones who have not gone back to me yet, to see where they plan on voting, but I've not heard back yet.
All right, well, thanks so much for your reporting on that. Much to come, and of course, you're headed down to Juneau.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we appreciate your work, and again, for breaking news and developing stories just like this, head over to our website, mobile app, and social media accounts where we stream coverage live from the digital desk here at Alaska's News Source. You can find those live streams on our streaming platforms. The weekend was beautiful in South Central. Today's looking pretty good. So what's next?
What is next? Meteorologist Jackie Purcell, there you are. What's happening with that forecast?
Well, we certainly saw no shortage of summer sunshine over the weekend, even today. And this round of July sunshine, it is going to be followed with a chance for wetter weather. But check out where we are right now. Lovely blue sky out there, the lush green of that foliage. And our current temperature here in Midtown at 70 degrees with winds out of the west-northwest at 8 miles per hour. 71 for the official high temperature in Anchorage, making it the 7th 70-degree or more day this month. So that is doing a good job of giving us some nice July weather. We have hit that 70-degree mark or more at least 9 times this summer. And this is a look at the conditions at Ship Creek, also seeing low temperatures in the low 70s. So it's going to be a nice one. But there's that official high, not too far from the record on this date from 1987 at 76 degrees. It's been as warm as 80 on the Campbell Creek on the east side of town. But you can see what's happening into the interior. They have wet weather. Lightning is firing up into the Copper River Basin. And we'll see, you can see all those clouds. That's leading to some changes, which I'll outline in the forecast coming up a little bit later. Back to you.
All right, look forward to that. Thank you, Jackie.
Thanks, Jackie.
And we got a traffic update to share with you tonight after a bridge strike at the Tudor Road overpass above the New Seward Highway this past Friday. The Department of Transportation says it has a repair plan that is ready to roll. An
overhyped load. Sorry about that. An overhyped load struck the underside of the bridge that evening. That's what happened. And the DOT is now saying that because the damage was isolated to a girder that doesn't bear vehicle loads, people can continue to safely use that overpass. A DOT team will be on site next Wednesday, and the agency says a closure might be needed. You can get updates around the clock on that at 511.gov.
And still ahead on Alaska's News Source, we have a new athlete of the week.
Plus, the Pebble Mine project hits another roadblock, or is it just a speed bump?
And the National Petroleum Reserve Alaska seeing several policy changes today. All of that ahead on Alaska's News Source.
You're watching Alaska's News Source.
Well, the Trump administration is reaffirming a Biden-era Pebble Mine veto, despite indicating earlier this month that it could reconsider the federal government's stance on the controversial project. As KTOO reports, while the parent company behind the Pebble project, Northern Dynasty, is still suing to get the veto overturned, negotiations between the EPA and the company reportedly did not reach a solution. And the Trump administration is still backing the veto as of now. The Pebble Limited Partnership now wants the court to determine whether or not the veto itself is lawful. The proposed site for the mine is upriver from Bristol Bay, the world's largest sockeye salmon fishery. Well, the Department of Interior is detailing the rescinding of 3 federal-level policies centered on the National Petroleum Reserve Alaska. That is according to a release from the DOI today, which says that the Bureau of Land Management is rescinding the policies that originally sought to impose further restrictions on special area management zones within the NPRA. They are as follows. A request for information that was published in the Federal Register last July, a report centered on quote-unquote maximizing protection of the NPRA, which was published in January, and a memorandum from the BLM on interim management of special areas, also published this past January. You can click on this story on our website if you'd like to learn more. And in case you missed it, the U.S. Coast Guard was called in after a sighting of a Chinese vessel off the coast of Utqiagvik over the weekend. It was about 300 miles north of Utqiagvik. The Coast Guard responded to what was determined to be a research vessel, an icebreaker operated by China's Polar Research Institute. The ship was detected about 150 miles inside the U.S. extended continental shelf boundary. It's an area the U.S. has exclusive rights to conserving and managing. A Coast Guard C-130J Hercules fixed-wing aircraft from the Air Station Kodiak did respond, the Coast Guard said.
Thanks for listening. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcast from Alaska's news source automatically. And stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's news source app.